Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Shokugeki no Souma, aka Food Wars, Chapter 113. Okay, and first of all, let me just say this. People might be wondering whether or not I'm reviewing the Shokugeki no Soma anime. What I'm doing right now is I'm trying to I'm just trying to feel out this season of anime because this is actually turning out to be a pretty good season. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to review, and I figured I'd just sit out the first week, watch all the anime that I'm going to be following this season, and then just decide from there what am I going to do. Okay, what am I going to review? All right, right now I'm thinking I'm going to be reviewing Shokugeki no Soma. I'm thinking about reviewing Plastic Memories, and I may think about reviewing the second season of Origairu, aka my teenage romantic comedy snafu. That's what it's known as on Crunchyroll. Also known as my youth romantic comedy is wrong as I expected. Um, so many names. Yahari something something blah blah blah. That's like the Japanese name Yahari something something blah blah blah. The short name for it is Origairu. But it's really freaking good. But it's one of those shows that you can't. It's hard to review because the greatest thing about it is some of the back and forth dialogue that happens. But it wouldn't be much of a review if all I'm doing is reciting dialogue back to you, you know. And there is stuff to analyze, but it's the greatest parts of the episode are that dialogue. So most of the review would just be me reciting dialogue, you know. So it just wouldn't be a very fun review to do. But it is such a good show. It really is. If you need to go to Crunchyroll if you haven't watched it before. Go to Crunchyroll, look up my teenage romantic comedy snafu, or is it my teenage rom-com snafu? It might be either one. Okay. Look it up, watch it. The first season's 13 episodes. Second season has one episode out so far. The second episode of the second season is coming out like Saturday at 1 a.m. in the U.S. or something like that. So pretty much Friday night. All right. So check it out if you haven't. It's so freaking good. Hachiman Hikigaya is one of us, and he's such a great character because this is the greatest. Okay, watch it. All right. But that's what I'm thinking about for now in terms of what anime I'm going to review. Probably Soma and Plastic Memories. Um, but I still have to think about it. The only anime that I'm following this season that I haven't watched yet is High School DxD. I might review. See, okay, so now I have 3 I might review. Right, but the only one I haven't watched yet is Yamada and the Seven Witches, which I did review the manga for that up to a certain point until it got really repetitive. I haven't read a chapter of that in forever because I'm really behind in pretty much every manga that I'm not reviewing, but whatever. 4 minutes, jeez. Okay. The point is, I'm still thinking about what I'm going to review. That's the point. Okay. Now, Soma, right? Chapter. All right. This chapter starts off with just explaining the difference between the Japanese style of cooking and French style of cooking. Japanese style kind of doesn't put as much effort into processing the food and handling it, and it likes to keep things as raw as possible, you know. It's But with French cooking, you don't do as much to the ingredients as possible, but you do so much more, and there's so much preparation that goes into it. You know, compared to Japanese cooking, that's the biggest difference, the way the ingredients are handled and prepared. Okay. I think the example Abel used was soup and saying how, you know, other than the fact that the ingredients you would use are different, the amount of time it takes to prepare it is just completely different because there's just more that you do to the ingredients to create that soup or whatever dish you're making. Okay. Right. And the difference in style, it ends up being incredibly evident when it comes to the taste of the food and the price, which ends up being relevant later on because Soma ends up asking Shinomiya why he chose to specialize in the French style instead of the Japanese style. and he tells us the story about um, how. Well, actually, what happened first is that the restaurant closed early, not really, but kind of, and we got this special group that came in. I get some guests of honor, if you will, and we've seen some of these people before, obviously, but one of them is Shinmiya's mom, and this is when he starts to tell the story about how he and his parents went to a local French restaurant once when he was a kid, and it rather than being Japanese cooking, was that French cooking that made his mom smile in a way that he had never seen before. And that made him fall in love with the French style and make him want to learn that style because at the time it was, one of the fanciest, one of the greatest styles of food he'd ever experienced before. All right. And being Japanese himself, he looks at he understands both styles of cooking, and he sees, oh, so this one ingredient that would be used in the Japanese style of cooking, it's just a weed in Western styles of cooking. It's not even thought of as an ingredient. So what he wants to do is take this French style of cooking and the traditional Japanese style of cooking and combine them in a way that no one has before to create his own unique style that would make him so good, make his restaurant so great that ends up being what ends up pushing him above the point he's at right now and getting him that third star that he wants. Okay, and that's why he opened up his second restaurant in Japan so that he could get back to his roots and better understand the Japanese style and combine it with the French style that he already knows so well. Okay, and that is pretty much the chapter right there. It ends with Soma telling us what we already knew, that he was going to make a dish for that contest. Okay, to decide what other item gets added to the menu. Okay, and that is the chapter right there. All right, and as much as I thought that it was kind of enjoyable hearing all this, the difference between the Japanese style, the French style, and why it is that Shinomiya decided to go against all this advice that he heard and open that second restaurant. I'll give this chapter, I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. Because at the end of the day, the main thing in this chapter was him saying, I want to combine the French style and the Japanese style and create my own unique style that will get me that third star. And that was only a small portion of the chapter. Okay, so a lot of it was focused on explaining the difference between the Japanese style and the French style, or introducing his mother to us. There are a lot of aspects to this chapter, but the one big part, the one important part was a small part of the chapter. So I'll give this chapter a 6.5 out of 10, and that's that, guys. Rate, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at BlacklistOTA. And I'll see you guys next time.